having brought you all up to date, I will begin accepting questions from the audience. Yes.
First of all, Mr. Jett, I was very happy to see you mention your failings, your considerable ego and arrogance, because that has formed a lot of the articles that I have read about you. Okay, and please tell me, and this is just what we've read that's been disseminated widely. Number one, and that's the basis for two questions I'd like to ask. One widely reported statement of yours is that you were very disappointed that no black leaders or civil rights leaders came to your defense after you were relieved of your responsibilities at Peabody, okay? And my question is, if when you were on your way up to the top, did you support any black programs through monetary contributions, speaking to young people about financial careers, summits, seminars, anything like that? Did you support them and give them a basis on which to support you later after you got into trouble? That's point one. The second one is, I've also read that one reason that you were not a popular person at Peabody is because you not only chased and dated exclusively white women, but you flaunted this in the job place. And I'm just kind of curious, now that you have been publicly humiliated by these whites that you attempted to mimic, are you going to use this new money from your book, royalties and advances and all, are you going to use this new money to develop alternative values as a black-skinned African-descended man, or are you going to continue the rest of your life to worship people who clearly let you know that they don't give a damn about you?
All right, let me deal with that head on. First, the reason why there was no black support for me, why I think there was no black support for me, is because of stances that I have taken. I was brought up by a father who felt very strongly that the way up for minorities was not by depending on handouts from whites, but rather would be through our own intellect, our own pride, and developing our own ability, intellectual ability. Part of that is seen and reflected in myself in my stance on affirmative action. Now, I'm going to go back again to high school. I applied in high school to several schools. One of them was Harvard University. I was accepted at Harvard. At the time, I had a 4.2 average. I had SAT scores of approximately 1,500. One of my classmates said, Joseph, the only reason you were accepted at Harvard was because of your color. This is 1975, the beginning of the affirmative action programs at that time. They didn't really even exist prior to 1974. He said, I'll bet you that if I filled out your application, or if you sent in an application that was not based on race to a school of my choosing, you could not get in. I said, hey, it's a bet. He tried to find a school with high SAT scores. He chose MIT. He vetted my application to make certain that it was no mention of race and sent it in. I was accepted anyway. Having been accepted and having seen how affirmative action was used to somehow say that I couldn't get in unless a white man let me in, I took the position, still hold to the position, that I will never accept a handout from those who oppressed me. I won't do it. Now, I am fearful today because often what is called affirmative action today is nothing more than the lowering of standards, the lowering of black intellectual standards. We have reached a point in our history where it seems there is many blacks are saying, for example, we just had this NCAA situation where they said SAT exams are culturally biased. There is a growing opinion among many that if you hand a black man a standardized test, he will die of fright. I disagree. I think that if we study, if we apply ourselves, if we are as determined to spend as many hours on our education as we are throwing a ball at a hoop, no one can outperform us, be it on intellect or any other field or capacity. So having taken this stance against affirmative action, I knew that I was going to be without black support. It was not going to be there. Now, but I won't be silenced. So when I worked on Wall Street, to get to your next question, I joined Kidder Peabody. There were 2,500 employees in fixed income. There were 2 black professionals. When I left Kidder Peabody, there are still approximately, I think it was up to 2,750 employees. There are now 7 black professionals. Actually, there are 8 black professionals, 7 of whom worked for me. Many of whom I hired were not, I would say, traditional hires. They're not from Ivy League schools. There are people like my secretary, for example, who did not have a college degree, but someone whom I told, if I hire you, I'm not hiring you to be a clerical person. I intend for you to get in when we do at 6:30, and you're not going to leave at 5 o'clock. From 5 to 7, you're going to study for your Series 7. You're going to study for your Series 63. If you think about walking out the door, you're going to face me. And I think that there are other things that you ought to do rather than face my anger. So you're going to study, you're going to learn, and you're going to become a professional. And she did, and that was how I felt affirmative action program should be handled. What I discovered about affirmative action at this firm, Kidder Peabody, I was asked at one point to be in charge of the affirmative action policies at the firm. I said, fine. I put together a list of schools where we would recruit: Harvard, Howard, Morehouse, University of Chicago, Sloan, all the top schools. My manager at Cerullo came in and said, looked at our list. It was myself and 2 whites who were on this affirmative action program. He said, what is this? What is this? Joe, people like you don't need our help. We don't want people like you. We're trying to find people who are really in need. That's what affirmative action is. I want you to go to the community colleges. I want you to go to the city universities. I want you to find real blacks who need our help. I refuse to participate in that fraud. I quit the program. And it wasn't until a year later that he acquiesced to my demands and said that I could recruit from Harvard, that I could recruit from the top schools. When whites say affirmative action, very often what they mean is the idea of these old programs, Webster and Different Strokes, where the great white father brings in some miniature Negro who will never grow up, who will never become strong enough to challenge, to overcome, or to dominate. And as long as you are that type of person, they want you. And they say it's affirmative action. In fact, today what they say is it's cultural diversity. They'll look at me and say, Joseph Jett, I've listened to you speak now for 10 minutes. You are not culturally diverse. We want someone who is culturally diverse. So that is my answer in terms of what I did. Now, in terms of white women, 1, I date whoever I want. 2, at the time that I was fired, the woman that I was dating happened to be black. Now, I've dated women of every complexion under the sun. The issue of whether or not I was flaunting dating white women at work, totally incorrect. I believed, indeed, as I describe in the book, there was a situation at this firm that